Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. The reading tonight, reading from the 13th chapter of Gita, Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. And here, Arjuna says, Arjuna vacha prakritim purusham chaiva shetram shetrajnam evacha etad veditum ichchami jnanam gyayam chakeshava. Shri Bhagavan vacha idam shariram kaunteya shetram ityabadiyate etad yoveti tam prahu shetragya iti tadvida. Arjuna said, "Oh, my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this field is called the knower of the field." Sorry to put my hand in front of the camera, but purport. Arjuna was inquisitive about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, Kshetra, the field, Kshetragya, its knower, and knowledge and the object of knowledge. When he inquired about all these, Krishna said that this body is called the field, and that one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. This body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence, and he attempts to lord it over material nature. And so, according to his capacity to dominate material nature, he gets a field of activity. That field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification, and according to his capacity to enjoy sense gratification, he is offered a body or field of activity. Therefore, the body is called Kshetra, or the field of activity for the conditioned soul. Now, the person who should not identify himself with the body is called Kshetragya, the knower of the field. It is not very difficult to understand the difference between the field and its knower, the body and the knower of the body. Any person can consider that from childhood to old age, he undergoes so many changes of body and yet is still one person remaining. Thus, there is a difference between the knower of the field of activities and the actual field of activities. A living conditioned soul can thus understand that he is different from the body. It is described in the beginning, Dehinosmin, that the living entity is within the body and that the body is changing from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth and from youth to old age. And the person who owns the body knows that the body is changing. The owner is distinctly Kshetragya. Sometimes we think, I am happy, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a dog, I am a cat. These are the bodily designations of the knower. But the knower is different from the body. Although we may use many articles, our clothes, etc., we know that we are different from the things used. Similarly, we also understand by a little contemplation that we are different from the body. I or you or anyone else who owns the body is called Kshetragya, the knower of the field of activities. And the body is called Kshetra, the field of activities itself. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the knower of the body, the living entity, and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord are described. In the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between the individual soul and the supersoul in regard to devotional service are described. The superior position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the subordinate position of the individual soul are definitely defined in these chapters. The living entities are subordinate under all circumstances, but in their forgetfulness, they are suffering. When enlightened by pious activities, they approach the Supreme Lord in different capacities, as the distressed, those in want of money, the inquisitive, and those in search of knowledge. That is also described. Now, starting with the 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature and how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different methods of fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and the discharge of devotional service are explained. Although the living entity is completely different from the material body, he somehow becomes related. This is also explained. So the Vedas say, Asango Hyayam Purushaha. The Purusha, in this case, actually the living entity is Prakriti, but he's described as Purusha when he comes to the material world to try to enjoy. Asango means that he actually has no relationship with the material world. It's a big mistake. Asango Hyayam Purushaha. So this relationship with the material world is completed when one develops a sense of trying to enjoy separately from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by the arrangement of the external energy, there's some facility for living in that state. But this is the cause of fear. Bhayam dvitiya abhinibheshata syad. Abhinibheshata means to be fully absorbed in something. And what is described in the verse I just quoted is that when one becomes fully absorbed in something that's not Krishna, then fear arises. That sounds rather convoluted because actually Krishna is everything. And that's where the catch is. As it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ratirtam yat pratyeta na pratyeta chatmani tad vidyaratmano mayam yataphaso yatatamaha. Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. Krishna says everything is me, but if you see something that's different from me, know that to be my illusory potency. That's Maya, that's darkness. And Dvitya means the same thing, that I'm seeing a second thing where there's only one. So the point here is that the living entity, when he becomes separate in spirit from the Lord, and that is he wants to enjoy separately, and comes to the material world and is absorbed then in the external world through the senses and the mind, then he is full of fear. The antidote is given in this verse. Bhayam tvitya binibesha tasyat ishat aphetasya viparya yosmriti tanmaya buddha abhajetam bhaktyayika yesha guru devatatma. One should fix one's mind on doing devotional service with one pointed attention and take shelter of Guru and Krishna, is what the verse says. Then you can turn it around. So this is very important because the material world is an extremely dangerous place. Once Markandeya Rishi, when he was sitting in his ashram, he had darshan with the Supreme Personality of Godhead because Markandeya was very dear to the Lord for his full dedication to spiritual life. And the Lord asked him to take some benediction. So Markandeya Rishi said, I want to see your illusory potency. The Lord smiled mildly because he thought, this is not a very good idea. And then he disappeared. And sometime later, there arose a deafening sound, and it was the rising of the ocean of destruction. It soon washed Markandeya Rishi away from his ashram. And for millennia, he floated in that ocean, being tossed by the waves helplessly, until he came upon a beautiful young baby who was floating on a banyan leaf. And he came closer to see this all-attractive form. And as he did, he was sucked into the form, and then he ended up back in his ashram. Of course, when spoken in a truncated manner, one doesn't get the full impact of what it means to be tossed in the waves of destruction for millennia, as Markandeya was. But we undergo such tribulations by somehow or other being related to the material energy. So for any person, even a simple human, even a human who's got a bad start by being born in a lowly situation, can turn that around through devotional service And one can turn around any scary condition of life by taking full shelter of Krishna, because Krishna is the reality, and reality is not scary. Maya is scary because it's darkness and we don't know what's going to happen. So the solution to all problems is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasmat ekena manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Bhati Shotavya Kirtitavyascha Deyam Pujas to Nityada. With one pointed attention, take shelter of the process of hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping Krishna. This is the solution. So to overcome the kind of all-pervading sense of darkness that's enveloped the world just now, you have to have light. And light comes from Krishna. So hear Krishna's names, give special attention. Don't try to scratch the itch by listening to, as Ananda Murari Prabhu said, Vaisesika Dasa over and over and over and over again. It doesn't help. What does help, though, is Krishna Katha and the holy names and so forth. It's the only source of our satisfaction and happiness in life. So preaching to the choir here, because you all just joined the Hear Krishna Katha, and I deeply appreciate it. We'll continue this vibration at every single opportunity that we have without stoppage. So let's keep tuned in and fill in all the gaps too. Make sure that you have the vibration going in your house. Make sure you're always chanting Hare Krishna, and pass that on to other people. Somebody, a workman came over to my house the other day, and we gave him a science of self-realization. It was just so satisfying to see this poor guy walk out of the house with a book under his arm, because the rest of the world looked so bleak. But when he, in contrast, the book looked like the sun that he was carrying, and the wisdom within is the only medicine. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.